By the morning of July 18, 1996, the first pieces of wreckage from TWA Flight 800 have been retrieved. The plane had exploded in midair the night before, setting off speculation of a terrorist attack.
These things don't happen. 747s or any planes don't blow up in huge, massive fireballs.
The FBI's investigation begins in an atmosphere of intense concern over Islamic terrorists. 3 weeks earlier, a terrorist bomb had killed 19 U.S. servicemen in Saudi Arabia. That week, Ramzi Youssef, mastermind of the 1993 World Trade Center bombing, is on trial in New York. And the Atlanta Olympics, set to open in only 2 days, have inspired a flurry of terrorist threats. When Bernard Loeb arrives in Long Island to organize the NTSB's inquiry, he brings only a skeleton crew of investigators. Like most people, he assumes that this is not the scene of an accident, but of a terrorist attack.
747, 10, 15 minutes outside of JFK, goes off for radar suddenly. That smacks possibly a bomb, and if that's the case, it's going to be the FBI's problem, not my problem.
But as Loeb examines radar data that some think indicate a missile attack, his attitude shifts. His experts say that the data really shows something else, an innocent electronic glitch.
It was simply a misinterpretation, work that was done perhaps a bit in haste that resulted in what still exists today as this theory that there was a high-speed track going towards the airplane that was a missile.
Nonetheless, the FBI's Jim Kallstrom has read eyewitness reports of lights streaking toward the plane. He believes a missile may have brought it down. Proving that, however, would be a daunting task.
Here we have the evidence, the pieces of the airplane in water that we now knew was 130 to 140 feet deep, 10 miles off the coast of Long Island.
Navy and police divers work long, dangerous shifts in water eerily sparkled by hundreds of pounds of theatrical glitter from the craft's cargo hold. Piece by piece, they bring the shredded material to the surface. The debris is trucked to a nearby hangar where teams of experts search for the source of the explosion.
We had people in the FBI that have seen a lot of blast damage, so we knew the characteristics of how metal would look after it was blown up.
When his experts find no indication of such damage, Kallstrom sends them back to look again. But within a few weeks, Loeb's crash investigators believe they have found where the explosion occurred: the center fuel tank. The garage-sized chamber between the wings had been nearly empty. Loeb theorizes that the residual fuel inside ignited, turning TWA 800 into a flying bomb. It had happened before.
There have been 10 or 12 such accidents in the last 40 or 50 years.
TWA 800's sister ship, a plane that came off the assembly line the same month, had exploded and crashed in 1976 near Madrid when lightning struck one of its wing tanks. All 17 people aboard had died. But a fuel tank explosion aboard Flight 800 didn't eliminate the possibility of terrorism.
The FBI said to the NTSB, yes, we know the center fuel tank exploded, but we're trying to find out why it exploded. Did a bomb hit it? Did a missile go through it? Or was it an accident?
Then on August 7th, a potential break in the case.
As a result of scientific analysis conducted by federal examiners, microscopic explosive traces of unknown origin have been found.
Bomb-sniffing dogs detect explosives in the wreckage.
We did find traces in the two-sided tape that holds the carpeting down.
Within weeks, however, the FBI changes its story, claiming the chemicals are not proof of an explosion. They say the traces were left over from a training exercise for bomb squad dogs 3 weeks earlier. It's a contention hotly disputed by critics. But Bernard Loeb says that, in any case, the mere presence of the chemicals is not conclusive evidence of an explosive device.
We would have seen far more than just these trace amounts. First of all, we would have seen the pitting of the metal. We would have seen gas washing on the metal. We would have seen fragments in the bodies of the passengers.
By the end of 1996, in the absence of such indications, Loeb is prepared to declare the crash an accident, even though much of the plane is still underwater.
The area around the center wing fuel tank had been reconstructed, and our investigators were absolutely convinced that there was no possibility that a missile had physically struck the airplane or that a bomb had gone off in the airplane.
But Jim Kallstrom isn't ready to abandon his criminal investigation. His agents have interviewed scores of witnesses who saw lights in the sky streaking toward the plane. They have read the terrorist threats. Could Loeb's experts have missed something?
You know what? Watch.
One of the FBI agents had taken a paper napkin and put pencil holes through the paper napkin. And then he ripped it up and he threw it up in the air and let it fall on the desk. And he said, "Now you tell me where the holes are that I just made."
You show me the holes.
And he made his point so succinctly that they didn't know.
Right, that's it.
Kallstrom decides he wants to reconstruct the entire plane. Only then will he know for sure if there's any evidence of a terrorist attack.
It was critical for us to look at this in 3 dimensions. You really can't tell anything in a linear array of a million pieces of an airplane laying out on the hangar floor.
His request sets off a bitter dispute between the FBI and the NTSB.
We had the evidence that we needed already that it was an explosion in the center wing tank, without any doubt in the minds of my investigators.
It's unacceptable.
Loeb's technical experts failed to convince Kallstrom.
230.
We had a couple hundred people that saw a missile. The FBI stands for the Federal Bureau of Investigation, not the Federal Bureau of Speculation.
The White House sides with Kallstrom and the FBI. Not only will the plane be rebuilt, but a 3-mile circle of ocean floor around the crash site will be scoured by dredging ships.
The big question on that realm of investigation, could we find and did we find an expended missile tube or an expended missile motor at the bottom of the ocean?
Kallstrom's determined search for evidence of terrorism seems like a waste of time to Bernard Loeb.
80% wasn't good enough, so we trawled the bottom of the ocean. Trawled and trawled and trawled. Got up more. And the net changes were what? I mean, what changed?
With 60% of the plane in the ocean, for someone to crow and yell about the fact that they know what it is preposterous. In this very difficult, technical, geometric, scientific, shrinking globe of terrorism we live in. That would be the height of unprofessionalness.
To Loeb, the Bureau's insistence on pursuing terrorism only made the probe more vulnerable to its critics.
It prolonged this business of it's a bomb, it's a missile. And the more the federal government said that that was a possibility, the more the conspiracists had to be right. So when the law enforcement people finally pull out and say there is no bomb and missile, the conspiracy theorists now can say it's a cover-up.